what is your number one sales channel that you're always focused on?
Calls, 100% calls. And we have some guys in here who have had some really, really, really good success with email campaigns. And I mean, super unconventional email campaigns. I'm looking
Hmm.
at you, Jeff Roper. And they've had a ton of success. Um, but there comes a time where calls are the most uncomfortable for a reason.
Hmm.
Calls are the most uncomfortable because it is two individuals who are vulnerable at their most vulnerable. If I go in to visit an in person, we've knocked on doors, we've climbed the fences, we've climbed up on the loading docks, I've gotten kicked out of an Amazon warehouse. We, you know, there's only a level of meanness that somebody will express to you in person. People will say all sorts of stuff on the phone,
Oh,
right?
of course. Yeah.
And I think that just goes to show that people are the most vulnerable because the limit of what somebody is willing to say will not exist. So when we are calling out to shippers, we know that, so we're super apprehensive to call sometimes. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that a lot of individuals get mundane and will be doing anything except for calling.
Hmm. Yeah, and I also think a lot of I think when you have built the calluses and when you've kind of gone through the repetitions enough, it's actually I've always found kind of okay from my sales experience for there to be a little bit of a, kind of tipping point where somebody's getting frustrated because if you're then able to kind of bring them back down, you sort of been through this experience with them. And now you've kind of got a little bit of a bond, right, where they can at least have empathize a little bit because of how you're coming across or what you're actually trying to do. And shoot, maybe you're just like, hey, look, I'm just trying to help, right? Like I'm constantly shipping this specific product on hot shots and whatever it may be, right? And then eventually they say, okay, cool, well, how about you quote this one for me? And then you're like, well, what in the hell just happened?
For sure. Uh,
Right. And
for sure.
I just think if you can just kind of get through that initial thing, let them know that you're not rattled, but hey, like you're calling for a specific reason. You're confident. You saw that this product was on the website. You're confident that, I shipped this for X customer and Y customer. I know that this is the common stuff that can happen. That's the reason why I was giving you a shout. And I think if you can maintain that, I think it's great because then you can bring them down really quick and it flips the whole thing, right? Of actually going through. And this is one thing that especially at my last brokerage. So at first, when I was there, I oversaw the ops team, and they were a team of 16. And then eventually I went to oversee the sales team, which was a team of 8. And a lot of the times, of course, you want the first shipment to just go perfect, right?
Sure.
Because you're trying to prove your service and stuff. A lot of the times, as wild as this sounds, sometimes when the first shipments did not go well, but we're displaying all the communication, the problem solving, getting on the phone with them, all of a sudden now you got this crazy bond with that person.
Sure.
Wasn't the most ideal experience from the first load, but I've always found that to be pretty unique. Have you guys experienced some of that too?
Yeah, I mean, they're watching you operate and with a sense of urgency. They're watching you operate under less than ideal circumstances. They're watching you solve your problem, and they are gauging and following how little involvement they're having to have while you're solving the problem for them. And that's huge, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then, like you were saying, that tipping point, right? You've got these customers and they get so frustrated and so frustrated, and you say, "Hey, look, I've got some value to offer you, right? I've been persistent with you, but I've managed not to have you block my number yet. What's what's the holdup? Because you're still picking up the phone when I call, right?" And what we train, one of the biggest things that we train here is those are the best customers. The no customers are the best customers. If you get a load list or you get bids on day one, because we're mostly SMBs, so that does
Yeah.
happen, right? It's different than if you spend 7 months doing an RFP cycle and you finally get a Q1, great, whatever. But the SMBs and the mid markets that say, no, we're set, no, we're set, no, I told you 4 times that we're set, those are the absolute best customers, point blank, period. Here's why. They are every other transportation provider that is calling them is getting told no, and then they
Hmm.
might follow up again, and then they're going to go back and hide in their cave. right? If you follow up, you're going to beat the other 8 guys because they're all going to have walked away before the 12th follow up. And what's
Right.
happening behind the walls, right? When the timing lines up and they've got something hot on Friday and their current guy's out of the office, you've seen it a million times, I've seen it a million times. What happens, that transaction of that paperwork, that onboarding, that accounting, that, exchange of insurance and listing on a COI, that is just the golden ticket, because what you've accomplished now is you are now being protected against competition to the same level that they were protecting their current broker. There's no market saturation. They're not bidding you against each other. They're giving you one, him one, you one, her one, you one, him one. And the margins are going to increase. You're going to be able to develop the relationship. They're not bidding out against you. It is the no customers that are the ones that make you successful in this. It's not the yeses. It's not the
Yeah.
I'm bidding next to a baker's dozen brokers for $125 margin for 6 hours a day.
Yeah, I think it's just a simple rule. If it's that easy for anybody to get in with a very generic cold call to get on a quote list, a load list on the first call, then it's going to be the same way for others. But if it takes you 12 follow-ups, hey, you should have a lot more faith in the security of that account, because most people are not going to get to the 12 follow-up range.
For
Majority
sure.
fall off after probably 2, if I'm being real.
Absolutely.
So going back to the cold calls, do you believe in call scripts?
No. God, no.
Why?
No. I've never taken a call from anybody reading from a script that I felt like I wanted to listen to, or I mean, call sales is about business value and personal connection, and you're going to blow the personal connection before you get to your third sentence about what business value you want to offer me.
How important would you say tone is when you're on the phone as a
It
sales rep?
it's everything. And it's a game of opposites. It's
What do you mean by that?
the guys coming out of college who have, and I think I actually said this on Will's podcast the other day. When we train sales, it is a lot about momentum and power dynamic within a call, because a call is like a dance, right? It takes momentum. You have to play 2 steps ahead. You have to pose questions that are going to warrant responses that are going to compound your momentum in the call. If I was raised, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, please and thank you will get you farther than anything you learned in middle school. I believe that. I do. When I was a kid, after baseball or whatever, when I would go back to my house and I wanted a friend to spend the night, I would say, hey, mom, hey, dad, can little Joey come over on Friday night so we can go to the movie? People retain that through college. Hey, professor, how are you doing today? Right? You see it in emails all the time, right? Hey, I was
Dear
wondering,
Logan.
dear Logan, hey, I was wondering if I could maybe make up this test today. Well, what happens, and I don't think people realize, is that in the business to business world, they don't see who you are on the other end of the phone. It is even playing ground from the second that call is connected, and their assumption is totally dependent on what they're hearing. So if I call in and I say, hey, this is Logan over at Blackbox, how are you? If we look at the power dynamic of what that does to a business transaction, this is me, this is the prospect. I am immediately utilizing a tone that implies that I am below them and that I'm speaking up to them. There is absolutely no reason why they are going to treat me like anything other than a child who is asking them to have a sleepover with their friend after baseball. Right? And it's a game of opposites again, because we're all raised, hey, raise your pitch a little bit, be very polite. But what happens is you hit the real world and you hit business to business sales, and that flies out the window, because Craig in shipping isn't expecting a call from an infant. Craig in shipping is expecting a call from a man or woman who he needs to trust is going to handle his shipments to the best of their ability and give him as few headaches as possible. And when I call in and I sound like I'm sucking up, it immediately negates my stance in the dynamic.
So what specifically are you coaching in that? Is it just lower inflection, lower tone, slow down?
Yeah, so it's case by case, right? We go through and we listen. Hey, what do these people sound like on the phone? Sometimes I rarely have to tell individuals to be more formal. 99% of the time, I have to say, hey, bring that down a ton. You don't sound like somebody who an individual would want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that starts from the jump. That starts with introducing yourself. So we go over individual calls and it's, hey, kick down the formality a little bit, kick down the verbiage, the fluidity and the pace. But yeah, I mean, we'll go through one by one and play them out, and we'll draw on the board. Hey, here's where your momentum's going. If it goes up, here's why. If your momentum's going down, here's why. But yeah, 99% it's the, hey, you need to be more informal and converse with this individual like a human being because they think you're reading off of a script.
It's impressive stuff, man. You're not typically hearing this from people within training programs, and I think it's just more so like, hey, here's a list of people to call, go call them. But
Sure.
this is the next level stuff, and I don't know, man. Kudos to you guys, because that's the stuff that I would say. Like, I always like to use the phrase "making the phone lighter to pick up,"
Sure.
right? Because there's those salespeople that phone can feel heavy and they don't want to dial. But
For
I
sure.
think that kind of training is what makes it a lot easier, because I will also say tone for me on sales calls, of like the way that you and I are talking to each other right now, would be the same thing that if it was a cold call, if it's a voicemail, if it's a demo, it's all the same, right? Because
For
people
sure.
can kind of smell the inauthenticity, or if you're really just showing up as you. And I always think that piece is interesting.